was paid against us,
also known by her initials RBG,
or by personal initials RBGs,
was the second woman
was the was the second woman
ever to become a
ever to become a
U.S. Supreme
U.S. Supreme
Court Justice.
Court Justice.
A Supreme Court Justice
A Supreme Court Justice
is a judge who works in
the
highest court of
time courtly.
law in the U.S. Her job, along with her 7 other
Her job is the law of
colleagues, was to ensure fair
riches for fair
and just laws for the
and just laws
entire United States
entire States
and all the people living in it.
and for all the people living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born
Louis Baker Winfrey
on the 15th of March 1933
and the 15th of March
in
1933
Brooklyn, New York.
in Berkeley, New York.
She attended Cornell
She attended Cornell
University for her bachelor's degree.
University for a bachelor's.
After graduating, she went on to Harvard Law
She went on to Harvard
Law School, where she was one of the
on the
only women in her
only women online
entire class.
class.
During her time in law school,
During the time of law school,
she left Harvard
she left her
and transferred to Columbia,
to attend the Omian
a law school.
law school
With her husband. After transferring,
after January.
her husband became ill with cancer.
Her husband became ill with
Ruth went to his class
Green went to class
and took notes for him,
just knock for her.
typed his papers,
Take a paper.
all while taking her
All well
own classes, caring
and not all classes.
for him and caring for their young daughter.
And there is a note long.
After graduating,
After graduating
first in her class,
is first in the class.
she became a
She became the first
professor, and again was one of the few women
and again is one with a few minutes
her field.
for field.
In 1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a Supreme Court
she became the Queen
Justice. She spent her
entire
entire career fighting
poet near her
for women's rights.
on the one that's right.
She helped create laws
She has created laws
that support women and
to
help
support
them
women
fight for equality. RBG sadly
on species sadly
passed away from cancer
passed away from cancer
on September 18,
and September 13
in her own
and 2020
home.
on home.
Although many people were broken-hearted by her death, she will forever be
She will forever be
considered a hero of
considered a hero here.
human rights
Mid-right
and women's equality.
and remain that's the world.
Ruth Bader
Ruth Bader
Ginsburg,
Ginsburg, also
known by her initials
known by her initials
RBG,
or by Chile,
was the second woman ever to
was the second woman
become a U.S.
He becomes a U.S.
Supreme Court justice. A Supreme Court justice
Supreme Court Justice.
is a judge who works in the highest
This is just near was the high
court of law in the
court of law.
Her job,
Her job,
along with her 7 other colleagues,
along its second Hurley,
was to ensure fair and
with teachers affair
just laws for the entire United States and all the people living in it.
and all are living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
born on the 15th of
born on the 15th of
March 1933
March 1990
in Brooklyn, New York.
in Brooklyn, Park.
She attended Cornell University
She attended Cornell University
for her bachelor's degree.
and from the bachelor's degree.
After graduating,
After graduation,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
she went on to Harvard Law
where she was one of the only
where she was and the people
women in
women
her entire class.
are in time of class.
During her time in law school,
During the time of law school,
she left Harvard and transferred to Columbia
she left her and his key
Law School to be with her husband.
to be happy with
After
husband.
transferring,
After transferring,
her husband became ill with
the happened with be killed and
cancer. Ruth went to his classes
Drew wants to be happy
and took notes for him,
to snow her,
typed his papers,
tax to
all
paper,
while taking her
all while taking her
own classes,
on classes,
caring for him and
caring for him in
caring for their young daughter.
caring for your young daughter.
After graduating first in her
After graduating first
class,
in class,
she became a professor
she became a professor,
and again was one of the few
and again it won't be a few
women in her field.
women in the field.
In 1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a
she began working in
Supreme Court justice.
Supreme Court Justice.
She spent her entire career fighting
She spent her entire career
for women's rights.
for women's rights.
She helped create laws that
She has created laws, support women,
and help their fight for equality.
and have the fight equality.
RBG sadly passed away from
RBG fastly passed away
cancer on September 18th, 2020 in her own home.
on your own home.
Although many people were
Although many people
brokenhearted by her death,
broken by her death,
she will forever be considered
she will be over second base,
a hero of human
heroes and convenience
rights and
rights.
equality. Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials
also by her no measures
RBG,
RBG,
was the second woman
was the second woman
ever to become a
to become a
U.S.
U.S.
Supreme Court justice. A Supreme
as the prince
Justice is a
Justice
judge who works in the
is a judge who was in the highest
court of law in the
court
US.
of law.
Her job,
In her job,
along with her 7 other colleagues,
alongside with his colleagues,
was to ensure fair
whistling to the fair
and just laws for
and just laws
the entire
the entire youth,
United States and
United
all the
States
people
and all the people
living in it.
living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
was born on the
was born on the
15th of March
15th of March
1933
1933
in Brooklyn, New York.
in Brooklyn, New York.
She attended Cornell
She attended Cornell
University for her
University
bachelor's degree.
or bachelor's degrees.
After graduating,
After graduation,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
where she was one of
or she was in
the only women
the only women
in her entire class.
her entire class.
During her time in law school,
During the time in law school,
she left Harvard and
she left Harvard
transferred to Columbia
and Shakespeare in Columbia
Law School
School
to be with her husband.
to be with her husband.
After transferring, her husband
After transferring,
became ill with cancer.
became ill with cancer.
Ruth went to his classes
Ruth went to classes,
and took notes for him,
took notes for him,
his papers,
typed his paper,
all while taking her own classes,
all while it's in the classes,
caring for him and
caring for him and
caring for their young daughter.
caring in a young daughter.
After graduating
After graduation,
first in her class,
first in your class,
she became a professor
she began in the bachelor
and again was
and began
one of the few women in her field.
one of a few minutes in the field.
In 1993, she began working as a Supreme Court
In
justice.
1993, she begins in the three.
She spent her entire career fighting
She spent her entire career
for women's rights.
for
She helped
right.
create laws that
It has to be laws
support women and help their fight for
to
equality.
support women and for the fight
RBG
models.
sadly passed away from
RBG
cancer
sadly passed away from ashes.
September 18, 2020 in her own
Too
home.
much on this
Although
until
many people were brokenhearted by her death,
although people with me love inside,
she will forever be considered a
she will be ever can be seen today.
hero of human rights.
Hero is cheap midlife.
Women's equality.
When it's the bloody.
Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials
also spelled by Mr.
RBG,
RBG,
was the second woman
was the second woman
ever to become a U.S.
ever to become a
Supreme
U.S.
Court Justice.
Supreme
A
Justice.
Supreme Court Justice
A Supreme Justice
is a judge who works in the highest court of law.
is a judge who works at high law
In the U.S.
in the U.S.
Her job,
Her job,
along with her seven other
laughing in seven her
colleagues, was to ensure
which interest for
fair and just laws
fair and just laws
for the entire United States
for the entire United States
and all the people living in it.
and all the people living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born
on the 15th of March
on the 15th on 1933
in Brooklyn, New York.
in
She
Berkeley,
attended
New York.
Cornell University for her bachelor's degree. After graduating,
After graduating,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
she
where
went
she
on to
was one of
Harvard
the
Law School,
only women in her
and she recently winning
entire class.
an entire class.
During her time in law school,
During the time of law school,
she left Harvard and
she left Harvard and
transferred to Columbia
chose Columbia
Law School to be with her husband.
to be as the
After
lesson
transferring,
as the January.
her husband became ill with
Her husband became ill.
cancer.
Answer.
Ruth went to his classes and took
Rule means to have listened.
notes for him, typed
Note
his
for him.
papers, all while taking her own
All while taking her own
classes,
classes, cared for him,
and caring for their young daughter.
and caring for the young brother.
After graduating first in her class,
After graduating first class,
she became a professor,
she became a professor,
and again was
and again
one
with
of the few women in her
a girl minutes
field.
on the field.
In 1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a Supreme
she began studying the streets
Court Justice.
in Colchester Street.
She spent her entire career fighting for
Fighting
women's rights.
when it's right.
She helped create laws
She has really got
that support women
it's the last minute
and help their fight for equality.
and fight heavily.
RBG
RBG
sadly passed away from
sadly passed away.
cancer on September 18th,
Cancer and complications
2020 in her own home.
2020 in your home.
Although many people were broken-hearted by her death, she will forever be considered
She will be every can be
a hero of human rights
humans are racist
and women's equality.
and women's is only.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials
also by on her initials
RBG,
RBG
was the second woman
was the second woman
ever to become
ever to become
a U.S.
a U.S.
Supreme Court justice.
Justice.
A Supreme Court justice is a judge who
A
works in
Supreme
the
Court
highest
justice was the judge
court of law in the U.S.
in the U.S. Her job,
along with her seven other
along with her seven colleagues,
was to ensure
which ensures
fair and just law
fair and just laws
laws for the entire United States
for the entire United States
and all the people living in it.
and all the people living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born on the 15th of March 1933
1936
in Brooklyn, New York.
in Brooklyn, New York.
She attended Cornell
She is studying Cornell
University for her
University
bachelor's degree.
or the bachelor's degree. After graduation,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
she went on a law school,
where she was one of the only women in her
where it's on the granny lemons
entire
class.
During her time in law school,
During the time in law school,
she left Harvard
she left Harvard
and transferred to Columbia
and just school in Columbia
Law School to be
Law
with her
School
husband.
to become husband.
After transferring,
After transferring,
her husband became ill with
her husband became ill cancer.
Ruth went to his classes and
Will speaking has lesson.
took notes for him, typed his
Took note for him, type his paper,
all while taking her own classes.
or was it in her own classes, caring for him,
and caring for their young daughter.
and caring for a young daughter. After graduating,
first in her class, she became a professor.
He became in the fashion.
Anne was one of the few women in
And was one of few women
her field.
for field.
In 1993, she
In
began
1993,
working as a Supreme Court justice.
justice.
She spent her entire career fighting
He spent her entire plus in life
for women's rights.
for women's rights.
She helped create laws that
She
support
has
women
raised laws
and help
fight for glory.
RBG sadly passed away from cancer on September
RBG sadly placed on cancer
18th, 2020 in her own home. Although many people were
although many people broken heart
by her death,
by her death.
She will forever be considered
She will be overcome considered
a hero of human rights and
in the
women's
real
equality.
life.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials
also
RBG,
by an initial Jeans,
was the second woman ever
when the second woman
to become a U.S.
and to become a U.S.
Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court
A
Justice
Supreme Court Justice
and the Supreme Justice
is a judge who works in the highest court of law in the
it was the highest court law
U.S.
is U.S.
Her job,
Her job,
along with her 7 other
along with her 7
colleagues,
colleagues,
was to ensure fair
restoring to a fair
and just laws for the
and
entire
just
United States and all the people living in it.
and all living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
born on the 15th of
born on the 15th
March 1933
1933
Brooklyn, New York.
in Brooklyn, New York.
She attended Cornell
She studied Cornell
University for her bachelor's
University in the bachelor's
degree.
degree.
After graduating,
After graduating,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
where she was one of the only
where she was the only
women in her
women on her
entire class.
entire class.
During her time in law school,
During her time in law school,
she left Harvard
she left Harvard
and transferred to Columbia Law
and transferred in Columbia Law
School to be
School
with her husband. After transferring,
at the transference.
her husband became ill with
Her husband became ill cancer.
Ruth went to his classes
Green used to have residence
and took notes for him,
to snow for him,
typed his papers,
passed it paper,
all while taking her own classes.
all while taking her earthless,
Caring for him
caring for him,
and caring for their young daughter.
and caring for the young daughter.
After graduating
Sat rushing in the
first in her
class,
she became a professor.
she became a professor,
And again,
and again
was one of the few women in her
was once in a few minutes
field.
of fear.
1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a Supreme Court
she began working as Supreme
Justice.
Justice.
She spent her entire career
She spent her entire career
fighting for women's rights.
fighting for women's rights.
She helped create laws that
She helped create laws,
support women, and help their fight for equality.
and help their fight equality. RBG Shaz
badly passed away
from
cancer on September 18,
and cancer as beat
2020 in her own home.
2020 on your home.
Although
many people was
broken-hearted by her death,
broken by her death,
she will forever be
she will forever can be
considered a hero of human rights.
hero of human rights
and women's equality.
and women's equality. Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials RBG, was the second woman
ever
to become a
and protected
U.S.
Supreme Court
Justice.
Justice.
A Supreme Court Justice is a
Supreme Justice.
judge who
Judge.
works in the highest court of law.
You are child's law right? Job, rest,
Her job, along with her 7 other
a job along with the public arm,
colleagues, was to ensure
washing your face,
fair and just laws for
fair
the
and just laws,
entire United States,
United States,
and all the people living in it.
and all the people living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
was born on the 15th of March
1933
in Brooklyn, New York. She attended Cornell University for her bachelor's degree. After graduating, she went on to Harvard Law School, where she was one of the only women
in her
entire class.
entire class.
During her time in law school,
During the time in law school,
she left Harvard and
he left
transferred to
Harvard
Columbia Law
and came Columbia
School
to
to be
school
with her husband.
to be her husband.
After transferring, her
After
husband
transferring,
became ill with cancer.
arrow or
Ruth
cancer,
went to his classes
which can be a lasted.
and took notes for him, typed
It's not blocking
his papers,
type to paper,
all while taking her own classes,
all out to paper, home classes,
caring for him,
rare
and
from rest,
caring for their young daughter.
and was a young father.
After graduating first in
After bachelor in church,
her class,
her class,
she became a professor.
she became to the professor,
And again,
and in end,
was one of the few women in her
was it a few women,
field.
a few.
In 1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a Supreme Court justice. She spent her entire
she spent her entire
career fighting for
career fighting
women's rights.
rights.
She helped create laws that
She had presidents,
support women
support women,
and help their fight for equality.
and have their diet equality.
RBG sadly passed
RBG sadly passed
away from cancer
away from cancer
on September 18, 2020
on September 18, 2020
in her own home.
on your home.
Although many people were brokenhearted
Although many people were broken hearted
by her death,
she
she will forever be
she ever was can be
considered a hero of human
set of heroes in
rights and women's
rights and means of equality.
Ruth Bader
Ruth Bader
Ginsburg,
Ginsburg,
also known by her
initials
initial RBG,
RBG,
was the second woman ever to become a U.S.
the U.S.
Court Justice. A Supreme Court Justice
Supreme Court Justice
is a judge who
is a judge
works in the highest court of law
in the highest court of law
U.S.
in the U.S.
Her job, along with her
Her job is against his
other colleagues,
colleague
was to ensure fair
was means to a fair
and just laws for the
and just laws
entire United States,
tyrant nationally
all the people living in it.
all the people live.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born on the
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
15th of March
15th of March
1933
1993
in
in York.
She attended Cornell
She attended
University for her bachelor's degree.
for the bachelor's.
After graduating, she went on to Harvard Law School.
After graduating, she went on the law school
where she was one of the only women
when she only millets
in her entire class.
in the entire class.
During her time in law school,
During the time in law school,
she left Harvard
she left Stanford
and transferred to Columbia
and changed for class
Law School
be a law school
to be with her husband.
to be in the husband.
After transferring,
After transferring,
her husband became ill with
her husband became ill
cancer.
with cancer.
Ruth went to his classes, took notes
Ruth went to the classes
and typed his papers.
and do paper,
All while taking her own classes,
all while is not as pleased,
caring for him and
caring for him
caring for their young daughter.
and caring for the young daughter.
After graduating first in
As the class in church,
her class,
the class,
she became a professor
she becomes a professor,
and again
and it gets with
was one of the few women in her
is one to a few minutes,
field.
a few.
In 1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a Supreme
she began working the French
Court Justice.
Court Justice.
She spent her entire career fighting for
He spent her entire career
women's rights.
right.
She helped create laws that support women
She has faced its laws and support women
and help their fight for equality.
and have the fight of law.
RBG sadly passed
RBG sadly passed
away from cancer on September 18,
away from chambers, which she means
20 in her own home.
20 in your
Although
own home.
many people were broken-hearted by her death, she will forever be considered a
She will or ever can be Saturday.
hero of human rights
Through a few rights
and women's equality.
and women's equality.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials
also by her initial
RBG,
RBG,
was the second woman
was the second woman
ever to become a U.S.
to become the U.S.
Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court Justice.
A Supreme Court Justice is a judge who
A Supreme Judge is the judge
works in the highest court of law in the U.S.
in the U.S.
Her job, along with her 7 other colleagues,
Her job is a law is curry,
was to ensure fair and
withering interfere and shown
just laws for the entire United States and all the people living in it.
and all the living in it.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born on the 15th of
Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the 15th
March 1933
March 1933
in Brooklyn, New York.
in Brooklyn, New York.
She attended Cornell
She is studying Cornell
University for her bachelor's degree.
University for the bachelor's.
After graduating, she
After
went on to
graduating
Harvard Law School,
Harvard Law School
where she was one of the only women in her entire class.
in her entire class.
During her time in law school, she left Harvard and transferred to Columbia Law School
And Columbia Law
to be with her husband.
to be her husband.
After transferring,
After transferring,
her husband became ill with cancer. Ruth went to his classes
Ruth went into Harvard,
took notes for him,
to lost her
typed his papers,
title papers,
all while taking her own classes,
all while in her classes,
caring for him
caring for whom,
and caring for their young daughter.
and caring for her young daughter.
After graduating
After graduating first
first in her class,
in her class,
became a professor.
she is a pastor. And again,
was one of the few women in
was one in a few minutes
her field.
profile
In 1993,
in
she
writing
began
private three again,
working as a Supreme
working as Supreme
Court Justice.
Court Justice.
She spent her entire
She spent her entire
career fighting for
career in fighting
women's rights.
with women's rights.
She helped create laws that
She has created laws,
support women
support women,
and help their fight for equality.
and have the fight of equality.
RBG sadly
RBG has
passed away from cancer
passed away and cancer
on September
on December
2020 in her own
2020,
home.
her own home.
Although many people were broken-hearted
Broken pockets
by her death,
by the death.
she will forever be considered a hero.
She will for her come to hell. and wins to Florida.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials
also by her initials
RBG,
RBG,
was the second woman
was the second woman
ever to become a U.S.
Wicked speaker.
Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court Justice.
A Supreme Court Justice is a
Supreme Court Justice
judge who
is
works
judge who works
in the highest court of law
in
in
the
the
higher works of law.
U.S. Her job, along with her 7 other
along with 7 colleagues,
was to ensure
which was
fair and just laws for
fair and just laws
the entire United States
entire United States
and all the people living in it.
and all the listeners.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born
Ruth Bader Ginsburg in all
on the 15th of March
15th of March
1933
1930
in Brooklyn, New York.
in Brooklyn, New York.
She attended Cornell
She is turned out
University for her bachelor's
university for a bachelor.
degree. After graduating,
After graduation,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
she went on to Harvard Law School,
where she was one of the only women in her
where she won in the only twin
entire class.
entire class.
During her time in law school,
During the time in law school,
she left Harvard and
she lost Harvard and
transferred to Columbia Law
changed to a Columbia Law
School to be with her husband.
because we have that.
After transferring,
After transferring,
her husband became ill
her husband became ill
with cancer.
for cancer.
Ruth went to his classes
Ruth was in the classes
and took notes for him,
to snow for him,
typed his papers,
typed to paper,
all while taking her own classes,
all while taking her own class,
caring for him
caring for him,
and caring for their
and caring for him,
young daughter.
young father.
After graduating
After Shelley,
the first in her class, she became a professor
she became professor
and again was
and friend,
one of the few women in her
which went to the film in
field.
a film.
In 1993,
In 1993,
she began working as a Supreme
she began working the Supreme
Court Justice.
Court Justice.
She spent her entire career fighting for women's rights. She helped create laws
She had created laws
that support women
to support women
and help their fight for
and fight their rights
equality.
bloodily.
RBG sadly passed away
RBG sadly passed away
from cancer on
of the
September
answer to most
2020 in her own home.
2020 alcohol.
Although many people were brokenhearted by
Although
her
many
death,
people
she
said
will forever be considered a
there
hero
will be
of
ever
human rights
within fear.
and women's equality. Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Too many
also known
people,
by her
also a
initials
bachelor,
RBG,
she
was the second woman ever
was the second one is for
to become a U.S.
to become a U.S.
Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court Justice.
A Supreme Court Justice is
A Supreme Court Justice
a judge who
is
works
the judge who
in
works
the highest court of law in
in
the
the
U.S.
higher with law
Her job,
Her
along with
job,
her 7 other
along with us
colleagues,
in college,
was to ensure fair and
is
just
a
laws
fair
for
and
the
just
entire
law
United
to
States
allow
and all the people living
not to be only
Ruth Bader Ginsburg
really better get
was born on the 15th
when get all and the 50s
of March 1933
was in March 1933
in Brooklyn, New York.
Berkeley North.
She attended Cornell University
She attended All Cal University
for her bachelor's degree. After graduating,
after
she went on to
graduation.
Harvard
She
Law
went
School,
to
where she
Closer
was
High
one of
School.
the only women in her entire class.
Her entire class.
During her time in law school, she
During the time in law school,
left Harvard and
she left the house and transferred
to Columbia
from
Law School
Columbia
to be
from
with her husband.
doing a law firm.
After transferring,
After
her
transfer,
husband became ill
you
with
have to be
cancer.
in near the cancer.
Ruth went to his classes.
Rings and a classes.
Notes for him. Typed
Not for its contents.
papers.
Expensive.
All while taking her own classes.
All while taking her own classes.
Caring for him.
Caring for him.
And caring for their young daughter.
And caring for the young daughter.
After graduating first in her
class,
she became a professor.
She became a professor.
And again, was one of the few women in her field.
One in the few minutes was real.
In 1993,
1993,
she began working as a Supreme
she again was with a Supreme
Court Justice. She spent her entire career
She spent her entire close.
fighting for women's rights.
You're fighting women's rights.
She helped create laws that
She helped create laws,
support women, and help their fight for equality.
support women and fight for equality.
RBG sadly passed away.
RBG sadly passed away
From cancer on
from
September
cancer
18,
for December 23
her own home.
for our own home.
Although many people were broken-hearted,
Although many people were broken, by her death,
she will forever be considered a
she will ever be considered a
hero of human rights,
hero of human rights
and women's equality.
and women's equality.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
also known by her initials,
also known by her network
RBG,
RBG,
was the second woman
ever
to become a U.S.
Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court Justice. A Supreme Court Justice is
A Supreme Justice
a
is
judge who
judge
works in the highest court of law
will work high court of law
in the U.S.
in the U.S.
Her job,
Her job,
with her 7 other colleagues,
along with her colleague,
was to ensure fair and
which means to a fair
just laws for the
and just law
entire United States
to be entirely way
and all the people living in it.
And all the buildings lived away.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born on the 15th of March
And 15th of March
1933 in Brooklyn, New York.
And not New York, York.
She attended Cornell University for her
Cornell University or
bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's degree.
After graduating, she went on to Harvard Law School, where she was one of the only
where she wants to only
women
in her entire
class.
class.
During her time in law school, she left Harvard and transferred to Columbia Law School to be with her husband. After transferring, her husband became ill with cancer. Ruth went to his classes took notes for him,
then
typed his papers,
paper.
all while taking her own classes, caring for him, and caring for their young daughter. After graduating first in her class, she became a professor. And again, was one of the few women in her field. In 1993, she began working as a Supreme Court Justice. She spent her entire career fighting for women's rights. She helped create laws that support women and help their fight for equality. RBG sadly passed away from cancer on September 18, 2020 in her own home. Although many people were brokenhearted by her death, she will forever be considered a hero of human rights and women's equality. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, also known by her initials RBG, was the second woman ever to become the U.S. Supreme Court Justice. A Supreme Court Justice is a judge who works in the highest court of law in the U.S. Her job, along with her 7 other colleagues, was to ensure fair and just laws for the entire United States and all people living in it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born on the 15th of March 1933 in Brooklyn, New York. She attended Cornell University for her bachelor's degree. After graduating, she went on to Harvard Law School, where she was one of the only women in her entire class. During her time in law school, she left Harvard and transferred to Columbia Law School to be with her husband. After transferring, her husband became ill with cancer. With cancer. Ruth went to his classes and took notes for him, typed his papers. All while taking her own classes, caring for him, and caring for their young daughter. After graduating first in her class, she became a professor. And again was one of the few women in her field. In 1993, he began working as a Supreme Court Justice.